Hi Henry, hi Cora, hi Bonnie. Today, well, I already read one, but now I'm going to read Mr. Putter and Tabby Stir the Soup by Cynthia Rylant. I hope you guys like these stories. There's a lot of them at the library. I think they're kind of fun. I like knowing what Mr. Putter's up to with his cat Tabby. Do you remember his neighbor's name? We're going to find out because you'll remember it in a minute. I forget. But plenty of chapters in this book. Chapter 1 is Soup Day. Soup Day. Mr. Putter and his fine cat Tabby live in an old house with an old porch and an old swing and lots of old things inside. Mr. Putter and Tabby didn't mind old things. They were old too, so they felt right at home. One of the oldest things in Mr. Putter's house was the stove. Mr. Putter was very attached to his stove. He called her Bessie. Do you have a name for your stove? I don't yet either, but maybe. Maybe I'll think of one. Every day, Bessie, the stove, cooked up oatmeal and tea for Mr. Putter and Tabby. Some days she cooked up muffins. And on really special days, she cooked up soup. Mr. Putter and Tabby loved soup. But it was a lot of trouble. Mr. Putter never had all the right ingredients at the right time. No onions, he would say to Tabby. No soup. Or no beans, he would say. No soup. And sometimes no macaroni, no soup. Tabby was really sorry about the macaroni. It was her favorite part. But one day, when Mr. Putter and Tabby wanted soup, Mr. Putter found he had everything. Look, Tabby, said Mr. Putter, even macaroni. Tabby purred and purred. Today would be soup day. Chapter 2. Maybe not. Mr. Putter put everything on the counter and started chopping. He chopped up celery, he chopped up onions, he chopped up carrots, he chopped up potatoes. But when he chopped the onions, he cried and cried. Ooh. Sometimes chopping onions makes people's eyes water, so they say it makes them cry. I don't know if you've chopped onions yet, but you'll find out when you chop onions. Tabby worried and rubbed against his legs. Oh, don't worry, Tabby, said Mr. Putter. It's just the onions. He smiled and gave her a pat, and Tabby felt much better. Mr. Putter dumped all of the chopped things into a big pot of water. He turned on the stove to let them cook, but nothing happened. Bessie didn't warm up. She didn't warm up even a little. Bessie, the stove, just sat there cold and quiet. Oh no, said Mr. Putter. Bessie's on the blink. What are we going to do? Mr. Putter looked at Tabby, and Tabby looked at Mr. Putter. They both looked at Mrs. Teaberry's house through the window. Said Mr. Putter. Now I remember it's Mrs. Teaberry is his neighbor. Chapter 3 is called Neighbors. Mrs. Teaberry was Mr. Putter's friend. Her good dog Zeke was Tabby's friend. They all liked being neighbors, and Mrs. Teaberry loved to cook. Maybe Mrs. Teaberry will help us make soup, said Mr. Putter. He phoned her up. Mrs. Teaberry, said Mr. Putter, Bessie's on the blink and I'm trying to make soup. Oh dear, said Mrs. Teaberry. May Tabby and I make some soup at your house? Asked Mr. Putter. You know, just a little aside, Grandma and Grandpa's stove was broken last summer, and we went over to Aunt Karen's house a lot to make things in her stove. So I know how he feels when the stove doesn't work. It's not much fun. Now we have a new stove and it works great. Okay, back to the story. Well, said Mrs. Teaberry, I'm just on my way out to shuck oysters with the girls. Mrs. Teaberry enjoyed odd things. Can you make your soup with Zeke in the house? She asked. Of course, said Mr. Putter. He'll be good, said Mrs. Teaberry. Of course, said Mr. Putter. He'll be nice, said Mrs. Teaberry. Of course, said Mr. Putter. And he promises not to be a bother, said Mrs. Teaberry. Oh, Zeke's not a bother, said Mr. Putter. We'll be right over. Look at Tabby's face. Oh, Zeke's not a problem. I don't know if Tabby agrees. Let's find out. Chapter 4 is called The Bother. Well, Mr. Putter and Tabby carried all of their soup things over to Mrs. Teaberry's house. Zeke met them at the front door. He had his leash. Oh, no walk, Zeke, said Mr. Putter. He and Tabby went into the kitchen, and Zeke went for his ball. No ball, Zeke, said Mr. Putter. Mr. Putter started chopping tomatoes, and Zeke came in with his stick. No stick, Zeke, said Mr. Putter. Zeke wants to play, and Mr. Putter has work to do. Mr. Putter started chopping turnips. Zeke came in with a potted plant. Jiminy, said Mr. Putter. Mr. Putter and Tabby chased Zeke all over Mrs. Teaberry's house. Finally, Zeke gave up the plant. Mr. Putter put it in the bathtub where Zeke couldn't reach it. No plant, said Mr. Putter. He and Tabby went back to the kitchen. Mr. Putter started chopping parsley. Zeke came in with a radio. Jiminy, said Mr. Putter. Mr. Putter and Tabby chased Zeke all over Mrs. Teaberry's house. I never saw a dog carrying a radio, did you? That's the first time. Finally, Zeke gave up the radio, and Mr. Putter and Tabby went back to the kitchen. Zeke came in with a lamp. Jiminy, said Mr. Putter. It was a very interesting morning. Chapter 5, Soup. When Mrs. Teaberry finally got home, Mr. Putter was asleep, Tabby was asleep, and Zeke was eating a carrot. Oh dear, said Mrs. Teaberry. Her house looked a little different. It was missing things. Then she looked through all the rooms, and she looked in the bathtub. Oh dear, she said. Mrs. Teaberry looked at Zeke. Were you a bother, she asked. Zeke wagged. He wagged his tail. Mrs. Teaberry went into the kitchen. And poor Mr. Putter, his soup was still not cooked, and there was a lamp in the kitchen sink. Oh, Mrs. Teaberry got to work. She made raisin bread and chocolate fudge and melted cheese toasties, and she stirred Mr. Putter's soup all afternoon. Can you see Mr. Putter in the background? His feet on the couch? When Mr. Putter woke up, they had the most wonderful meal and the best soup Mr. Putter and Tabby had ever tasted. I'm sorry Zeke was a bother, said Mrs. Teaberry. Oh, said Mr. Putter, Zeke is never a bother. But, have you seen my hat? The end. I think Zeke likes to carry things in his mouth. Hope you liked it. Love you.